Hi everyone, welcome back to East Coast Haunts. I'm MK.
And I'm Sam.
And we are bringing you a little pre-Christmas episode.
Yeah.
We're getting close now.
I know, it's literally exactly 10 days until Christmas Eve.
Wow.
Which, do you like Christmas Eve better or Christmas Day?
I like Christmas Eve better.
Same!
Yes.
I like Christmas Eve better.
There's something about the anticipation, and depending on which side of the family we spend it with, I just think it's like so fun to do Christmas Eve. So we are not spending Christmas together this year.
No.
Which is okay because we did Thanksgiving together this year.
I'll
But
take it.
I'm spending it with my other side of the family, my other cousins. Don't get too jealous.
I'll try.
And we do, they have us all over to their house and we do like the 7 fishes, which is a very like Italian thing to do. And it's so fun. I love
Which
seafood.
fish is your favorite?
She usually does like these stone crab claws, my aunt. I am
That's a crustacean.
well,
I'm just kidding.
it's a modern interpretation
Okay,
of the 7 fishes. She usually does that. Sometimes they have like calamari, which is really yummy.
Yum. It's funny because we were just talking yesterday about how the 2 different calamari options are like the rings of calamari or like the little mini squid tentacles. And me and MK were both saying that we like the squid tentacles, and everyone like tells us that it's gross and
Everyone like shits on it.
But it's
the
so
best
good.
part.
It's so good. Like, I understand that visually it's not the best, but
it's crunchy, it's crispy, it's a little bit chewy on the inside.
It's delicious.
I am a big tentacle fan.
Let us know what type of
Calamari.
what body part you like better on the squid. But speaking of Christmas, yes, we will not be spending Christmas together, but we will be spending this Saturday together because we are having our very own Christmas soiree at our apartment.
It's gonna be so fun. So it's my family, your family, our grandparents, our great uncle, and our 2 boyfriends.
So all in a 2-bedroom apartment.
The whole squad is rolling up.
It's gonna be so cozy.
Sam, what appetizer are you making?
So I actually decided literally today okay, so I'm gonna make this like spinach dip tree. So basically, I'm sure you saw it on Pinterest.
Is it the one with like the Pillsbury biscuits?
It's
and you
not
like twist it into it.
Yes, I don't think it's. If with this one, it's said to use like pizza crust, but I think that's basically the same thing. Yeah, so it's basically like you get a sheet of like pizza dough, like thin pizza dough.
Cute.
And you cut it a certain way, and then like you fill it with the spinach dip that you make.
I'm so excited.
I'm really excited.
I'm a big spinach dip gal.
And then it's like you can kind of just like pull it off, and it's kind of like a little breadstick dipped in spinach dip.
Yum.
So I'm really excited.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right? And then I was thinking, maybe I'll put like little cherry tomatoes on there to make it look like little ornaments.
Little tomato.
Yeah, wouldn't that be kind of cute?
Yes.
But I'm not totally sure yet. But I think that's what I'm gonna make, and it's gonna be fun and festive.
Love it.
Yours?
I'm gonna do a couple because I'm a glutton for punishment and I already don't have enough time, and I have already involved myself in making a homemade gift for my Secret Santa.
Right.
And I'm trying to get that done.
I know you were working away yesterday.
I'm going to be working away tonight too. But for my first appetizer, I'm going to be making like bacon wrapped dates.
Delicious.
Which I've never had, but I had like 4 people recommend them to me this weekend, so I guess they're like the new
It's definitely
craze.
a thing, yeah. And dates are really good.
I've never had a date.
They're very sweet.
I've never been on a date.
I've never been.
And then what else am I gonna make? I am making these like tahini chocolate chip cookies because they're like Santa's cookies. I think it gives it like a little bit of a nuttiness without actually having nuts in them because we have some serious nut allergies in our family. And then what was the other thing that I was gonna make? Now I'm totally blanking. Some like shrimp crostinis.
Right.
Call
it what you were gonna call it.
Shrimpy tidbits.
She's making, but I think she got shy to tell everyone what that
I did.
Shrimp crostinis, aka shrimp tidbits. So you can use your imagination as to what a shrimpy tidbit is.
It's like a cheesy, shrimpy bread.
Little piece of toast,
Yeah. So anyway, that's that. and we will be updating you how that went probably in our next episode.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Well, yeah, definitely in our next episode. But, Sam, before we get into, like, the meat of this episode, do you want to tell the people what your family is doing for Christmas?
I would love to. Thank you for putting me on the spot. This is actually perfect because I do think the world needs to hear.
I do too.
So, I'm 24 years old.
Yes.
My sister is almost 26. And my youngest sister is 18. So, you know, we've been a family of 5 for a while.
Yes.
My mom decided this year, you know, she had our entire childhoods to think of this, but this year she decided that from now on, every Christmas dinner, we're going to have a theme.
I love it.
So once a year, our Christmas dinner, there's going to be a theme. And this year, she already decided, no one else got a say in it, we are having a colonial Christmas. So each of us has to make a different dish that was made in the American colonies in the 1600s.
You know, back in the day.
And we each contribute a dish, and my mom is going to make a colonial tablescape, whatever that means.
That's so cute.
I know, I was like, I don't think they had tables back then.
It's giving Felicity Merriman.
Yes, it's very Felicity, very George Washington, Martha Washington, Mount Vernon-esque. I'm making the dessert, so I'm making these like apple dumplings.
Yum.
It's kind of weird because they used to, apparently, I did some research, and they used to boil like everything. That was like the main way of cooking things back then. So I'm gonna do, it's basically like a pie dough, and then inside is like a whole apple, but it's cored, so there's no like seeds or anything in it.
Stuff.
And you're supposed to then boil it, but I think I'm actually just gonna put them in the oven. But it's gonna be some sort of like apple dumpling.
That sounds delicious.
So hopefully they'll turn out. That's what the colonial Christmas awaits.
Will you be wearing your petticoats to dinner?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like,
is there like a dress code?
I would be, if they wanted to dress up, like, I would go out. I would go on Amazon and buy something.
I unironically think that this sounds like so much fun.
Right? Well, you and I, we wanted to go to the Renaissance Fair. Like, we like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's, like, quirky, but it's fun. Who doesn't love a good game of dress up?
I know, but it's, like, also, like, powdered wig. Like, it's a weird era. It's just so funny that, like, for the first... It's funny that she decided to start this tradition now, like, after everyone has grown up.
It does seem like something you would maybe start when, like, your oldest kid was a teen. But, you know what?
Better late than never.
It's never too late.
Never too late to start a new tradition.
Dying to see your dad in, like, full pilgrim apparel.
Yeah, right? With, like, the powdered wig.
Low-key feel like you would get into it. But...
So that'll be good. I'm sure I'll have updates about that.
A very unique Christmas. Maybe we'll do like a colonial Williamsburg haunt.
Ooh, we actually should.
We should.
Okay. Well, okay. I remember this. Put a bookmark in that.
But, speaking of haunts, do you want to get into this week's
haunt
chosen location?
Yes, let's get into this week's location. So, we actually had a listener write into us, right?
Yes, we had someone DM us on Instagram.
And they said that we should be looking in Maine, because Maine has a bunch of haunts. And I feel like Maine is as East Coast as it gets. Or I guess Northeast as it gets.
Yeah, I agree. So this one is not technically, I believe, one of the ones that she DM'd us about. I'm also going to give her a shout out. So, from our listener, Nicole, we are doing...
the Wood Island Lighthouse.
Woo!
Woohoo!
This place is actually really fun.
It's very interesting. I would actually love to visit this area. If you
Me too.
Look up pictures of the area, which I'll get into in a minute, but it's very like Martha's Vineyard-y.
Yeah.
But like more secluded.
So, not to like keep you all waiting for the history and haunts, because we know that's why you tune in. You don't tune in to listen to us ramble.
Crabby tidbits.
But shrimpy tidbits.
I'm sorry, shrimpy tidbits, my bad.
I ain't trying to pay $80 a can for some crabby
tidbits.
Anyway, so I have been to Maine. Have you ever been to Maine?
No.
It is one of my favorite places I've ever been, which is saying a lot. Because I'm not. It's not like I'm well traveled, but I've been to like some weird places. Yeah. I feel like so. I love Maine. killer lobster rolls, blueberry pie. We went to Acadia National Park when we went there. Absolutely gorgeous views. One of the most gorgeous places I've ever been to. And my favorite part was we biked around. We did like a literally 30-mile bike ride one day. And we biked to this place called Jordan's Pond. And they have like this little shack like restaurant up there. And they're famous for their popovers. Have you ever had a popover?
No, but I know what they are.
They are amazing. They're just basically like a little bread roll, and you put like jam and butter in it. My mouth is literally watering talking about it. It is so good. So anyway, Maine holds a special place in my heart. I've always said that I might want to live there someday.
Are you sponsored by Maine?
You're
singing
Maine,
their praises.
Maine sponsored
us. The Maine government is sponsoring you to say this. The people will move there.
They found East Coast haunts and they were like, this is great
This is how we're going to get the people.
We've got the natural beauty and the haunted history.
It's true.
It's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that actually really makes me want to go to Maine.
It's lovely.
Singing its praises. Yum. Well, not yum, but anyway.
Yum.
So, let's get into our haunt in particular, which, like I said, it's the Wood Island Lighthouse.
Yes.
The Wood Island Lighthouse is located in Biddeford, Pool, Maine, and it is the 5th oldest lighthouse in the state.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm like, is that really that impressive, though? Like, 5th oldest?
Yeah, when you said 5th oldest, I thought you were going to say in the country, but...
No, like in the state.
Okay.
So...
Are there a lot of lighthouses in Maine?
I get a lighthouse vibe from there.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely like New England gives lighthouse vibes.
It does. And the Wood Island Lighthouse has been casting its beacon into the Gulf of Maine for more than 200 years. So it's been there for a while.
Yes, just a little bit.
The lighthouse is 47 feet tall. So, pretty tall.
Almost as tall as me.
Almost as tall as you. And it was established in 1808 under the order of none other than Thomas Jefferson.
Oh my god.
So,
we know him.
Fancy name there. And so the area that it's located in, which like I said is Biddeford, Pool, Maine, it's the site of Maine's first recorded permanent settlement called Winter Harbor.
Ooh, that's such a fun, I don't know. I like the vibes of that name, Winter Harbor.
Yeah, Winter Harbor. And it's actually a very popular area for vacationers and lobstermen. So
I want to be a lobsterman.
The lobstermen come up a lot in the history of the Wood Island Lighthouse. Yeah. So, according to the U.S. Coast Guard, this lighthouse is, quote, a white conical tower showing an alternate white and green light every 10 seconds from a focal plane of 71 feet above sea level. So, I don't really know what all that means, but it's got green light, it's got a white light.
What do you mean you don't know what all that means?
I don't know what a focal plane is.
It's like a level plane. It doesn't go up and down, it just goes on a plane.
Okay.
Which I guess up and down could be a plane, but it goes on a horizontal plane.
I believe you. But I just don't understand it.
Okay.
The white light is visible for 18 nautical miles, and the green light is visible for 16 nautical miles.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know, but nautical miles, that's pretty far, right?
Yeah, I think a nautical mile is the same as a regular mile.
Okay.
Is it?
But then why do they have to specify?
Hold on. So we did just pause to Google it, and a nautical mile is not the same as a land mile because apparently you can't measure distance over water.
Okay.
So a nautical mile is a mathematical calculation based on degrees of latitude around the equator.
We're way out of my what's the word?
Expertise. Zone of expert. But I actually have no idea.
I'm just gonna say okay to that.
Okay.
Because I don't know what any of that means.
And
Moving on. The lighthouse is also equipped with a foghorn that sounds 2 blasts every 30 seconds. Which
what?
I know. I'm like that can't be right. That can't be right.
2 blasts.
But this is on the official website. Every 30 seconds.
That's ridiculous. Imagine living near there. I guess you would probably get used to it.
Yeah, but every 30... That's 4 times a minute, if my math serves me correctly.
No. It's... Well, twice every 30...
Twice every 30 seconds. So
yeah, it's 4 times a minute. Yes. But it's in intervals of like 2 times a minute. Yeah.
Too much math.
I'm confusing myself.
All right, we're just going to get into the actual history because I think I'm confusing us. So, even 200 plus years later, the lighthouse is still operational and is maintained by the U.S. Coast Guard with the help of the nonprofit called the Friends of Wood Island Lighthouse. So the lighthouse has gone through multiple cosmetic and structural changes throughout the years. One of the more humorous examples is when the lighthouse's lantern was removed in 1972. You know how there's like a lantern in like the tower above?
Yeah.
For some reason they removed it in 1972, and it caused a public uproar because the townspeople thought that it made the lighthouse look headless, and that's an exact quote, and ugly and headless. So then they replaced it with a new lantern in 1986, which is like 14 years later though, so I'm like, what took so long?
The public uproar wasn't strong enough.
Yeah, and if you look at pictures, I like looked at a picture and it does look a little bit headless.
Okay.
So well, maybe we'll post it on the Instagram, but it's really it's funny. Wood Island itself, so like the area around it, does support wildlife, including a small population of deer who swim the half-mile to and from the islands to get on it. Which,
okay.
Have you ever seen a deer swim?
Yes, I have, actually.
You have?
Yes, because we used to live on a lake.
Yes, you did.
And it was like we had insane populations of deer because everywhere in New Jersey, deer are overpopulated. But they would go and swim across the lake to get to this like other island.
No way!
And we didn't know that deer swam. And so, like, one time, my dad and I were driving, like, I clearly remember this. We were driving past the lake, and
core memory.
We saw this, like, a herd of deer on, like, a little island out in the lake, and my dad was like, I wonder how they get out there. And I was like, maybe they just, like, live out there.
Yeah,
like, you know?
That's what I would think.
And then one day, like, we saw
one of them
2 deer swimming to the island. We were like, what the frick?
I just can't picture that.
They just, like, their little heads. Like,
that is so scary. I was just like beheaded.
Scary.
Because I would think they were, like, beheaded deer. Like, if I just saw the heads floating.
Well, you know, like, Assateague Island down
Yes.
in Maryland? Like, you know how the horses swim?
Oh, I thought they were just native to the island.
No, they swim.
That is so
weird. It's like
weird.
the swimming of the horses is, like, a thing down there. It's like the running of the bulls in
Ew,
Spain.
It's so weird. I just feel like there are some animals that shouldn't swim.
I agree.
Like dogs, fine. Deer, that is so funny. I just thought it was so. When I read that, I thought it was so funny that they swim a half mile to get onto the island.
The ungulate animals just seem like they shouldn't be able to swim.
I know. So it does support some wildlife around there. Some past lighthouse keepers are named Tristan Goldthwaite, and he was the lighthouse keeper from 1832 to 1833. Stephen D. Batchelder, Ebenezer Emerson, and W.F.
I told you it was a Christmas episode.
It truly is. And W.F. Lurvy was another lighthouse keeper. And I just wanted to point those ones out because their names are like literally the epitome of like lighthouse keepers. Like, of course they were lighthouse keepers with a name like Ebenezer Emerson.
You got it, Emerson?
But anyway, I just feel like they were born to be lighthouse keepers when you have these like fancy names like that.
Also, can I take a second here and just say, if you gave me the opportunity to like leave my life behind and become a lighthouse keeper,
yes,
I would do it in a second, like one heartbeat. I just want to live in a lighthouse. That's like my life goal.
Would you do it for just so that you could like live there, like not even getting paid to do the lighthouse stuff?
Well, if like all my needs were taken care of,
then you would do it?
Yeah, I would do it. I would get myself a little like Shetland sheepdog. I would throw away any clothes that were not jeans and cable knit sweaters and fingerless gloves and like a little beanie. I would have a lifetime supply of hot coffee in the morning.
Yes.
And I would get rid of my phone. I would get rid of like my like TV. I'd just stock like old books in my lighthouse. And I would have like a nice little life.
I think you've thought about this recently.
I have, because I really...
You've been fantasizing.
Yeah, sometimes I fantasize about going off the grid.
I think that sounds like a very relaxing life. Yeah, no, I get it, yeah.
I would get a record player.
Whoa.
I mean, I do have a record player, but maybe not one that's painted like the American flags. I'd get like a good old-fashioned record player. I'd listen to like
cozy on up.
Yeah.
Oldies.
Like
Frank Sinatra.
I was gonna say like Aretha Franklin.
Yeah. That sounds like a lovely life.
I'd like to bring my family and friends with me so that you all could live on the island.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
But I want to live in the lighthouse.
I would be like swimming with the deers.
And anyone who can't move to the lighthouse, I'll become a pen pal.
That sounds like a very fun life.
Doesn't it sound like
when you first said that, I was thinking I didn't agree, but as you started to explain it, I'm like, that does sound like a
It's
very
not
nice
that
life.
I want to like ditch anyone in my life. I just think that sounds like such a peaceful existence.
Jinx. That sounds lovely.
Or I owe you a soda.
You owe me a lighthouse.
No, I want to have the lighthouse.
I think that does sound very nice, though.
Doesn't it sound lovely? I've thought about this a lot.
They should have, like, I think tonight as I fall asleep, that's going to be the scenario in my head that I picture.
Ooh,
like
I love doing that.
I know, right?
Yes.
Be living in a lighthouse. So, alright. Back to the Wood Island Lighthouse. You know I mentioned Ebenezer Emerson. How can you forget that name?
Love him.
He served as the lighthouse keeper from 1861 to 1865. On March 16th, 1865, he saved the entire crew of the British brig called Edith Ann. I guess it's like a ship name.
Yeah.
From drowning in a really big storm that was happening right near the lighthouse.
Okay, king.
And I was like reading an account of it, and it was like treacherous. Like I couldn't really even tell exactly how he was able to save them, but like he was going in, like helping them. He was like a hero. And so for his actions, he was commended by the Canadian government. Not sure why the Canadian government, right? Because he's in Maine. Maybe because it's so close to Canada.
Maybe the Canadian government just was like, good job.
Yeah, I guess so. And guess what he was rewarded with for saving all these lives?
Galoshes.
Close. He was commended by the Canadian government, and he was rewarded with a pair of binoculars.
Oh, why was I like low-key kind of close?
I don't know what a galosh is, though.
They're like rain boots, like the yellow rain boots that you typically see. I don't know. I just kind of feel like
those are so similar to binoculars.
I mean, like, I could have said like $1 million, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's like a mundane, everyday object.
Which I was like, I can't believe. I was like, first of all, why did the Canadian government give him this? Second of all, why did they give him binoculars? Like, are you kidding me? And it's funny that he left later that year. I'm like, I wonder if that was like the last straw for him.
He was like, I saved an entire ship, and they gave me binoculars.
Underappreciated.
I don't blame you.
But Ebenezer, he's probably like one of the more famous people that's associated with this place. And then the other famous person, well, not famous, famous in regards to the Wood Island Lighthouse, I guess. There's a man named Thomas Henry Orcutt.
I knew that this guy was gonna be the one. And
he was a former sea captain, and he served as the Wood Island's lighthouse keeper for almost 2 decades, from 1886 to 1905.
He knew it was the life.
He knew what he was doing.
Me and him are
cabling it buddies.
Yeah.
So he had a dog named Sailor. I'm sure did you come across him?
Yes, I did come across Sailor, and this is like the kind of life that I'm talking about. Like, my man was living the dream.
So his dog Sailor, if you look at pictures, to me it looks like a German Shepherd and Collie mix, but I found one singular source where they said the type of dog it was, and apparently he was a Scotch Collie.
Ooh.
So I was part right. But anyway, that's the only place that mentions the breed. So Sailor was the dog of Thomas Henry Orcutt, and he was famous because I guess when he was like a little puppy, Thomas trained Sailor to ring the lighthouse station's fog bell in order to greet passing ships. And he would do this by taking the bell cord in his mouth and like pulling it with his teeth so that it would ring.
Sailor.
But if you look at a picture, like, this was not, like, if you're picturing just, like, a bell, like, picture, like, something the size of the Liberty Bell. It was huge. And so he would grab a giant cord and he would, like, shake it around and it would make it ring. But it was, like, no easy feat because it was a big bell. We'll put a picture, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Do you see that?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's like 5 times his size.
It's so funny.
Go off, Sailor.
I just thought that was the cutest thing ever. It was a gigantic bell, and he would ring it.
Can you imagine any of our 3 dogs trying to do
Absolutely
that?
not. Absolutely not.
So we have 3 dogs. One of them is a 14-year-old Labradoodle named River. River is like maybe 23 pounds. We have another dog named Ted. He has like a host of medical problems, but we love him just the same, and like a temperament issue. But you know what? He's chill. And then we also have like a 6-pound Chihuahua named Kiwi. So
yeah. So I don't think they would be able to quite do what Sailor did, but it was very cute, and nonetheless, it just seems like obviously I did not do the haunts for this one, so you're gonna tell me about the haunts, but to me, in my research, this place just seemed like a very charming, old lighthouse and little town that I would enjoy living in.
I do see what they mean by headless.
Yeah, right?
I was laughing at it, but you're absolutely right.
It does look
headless.
It doesn't look
headless. Okay. Vibes.
So that's kind of a brief overview of the history of the Wood Island Lighthouse and of Biddeford Pool, Maine.
Interesting.
So now let's hear about some of the darker sides of the lighthouse.
Yes. So I will preface this by saying like this was a fun location to do. There's not like any super dark history here. There is one incident that's like a little bit disturbing.
Yeah.
So just like a little bit of a trigger warning for suicide.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, so like you said, the lighthouse was built in 1808. There are both residual and intelligent hauntings, and it's known as one of Maine's most haunted locations because of a murder-suicide that happened 88 years later after that lighthouse was built. So it happened in 1896.
Okay.
So let me set the scene for you. We have 2 24-year-olds, Howard Hobbs.
Just like me.
I was going to say. And William Moses. And they're like bulling around in the summer.
I have not heard the word bulling in so long.
That's like, I feel like a very Philly thing.
It's such a good, that was such.
They're literally bulling. Like,
they're
bulling around this summer.
Great word.
On Wood Island. And they like quote unquote rented a shack from this guy named Frederick Milliken, who was 35 years old.
Okay.
And he lived on Wood Island permanently in something called a dwelling house. And he owned this little shack, and he rented it out to these 2 bulls, okay, for the summer. And
these 2 John.
Frederick was, like, part lobsterman. Like, he went out and catch the lobsters. But the 2 24-year-olds were fishermen, and they also hunted seals for bounty money.
Wow.
One small problem was that they hadn't paid Frederick in literal months, which, like, you gotta pay your rent.
Yeah.
You know? So Frederick sees these 2 guys coming back and forth from the mainland and getting, like, rip-roaring drunk.
Okay. Obnoxious.
Yeah, whenever they're not fishing. So he's literally watching them spend the money that he knows that they have on getting drunk instead of paying him. So...
That's
yes,
obnoxious.
I would be angry too.
I would be very angry.
So he decides he's going to confront them, right?
Of course.
Because you have to stand up for yourself. So June 1st or June 2nd, depending on the source that you use, but I've seen June 1st more. 1896, Howard and William come stumbling back to their shack from the mainland. And Frederick marches his way over there, and he attempts, like, a cordial conversation about the rent.
Okay.
And Howard responds, not great. He, like, whips out a rifle. Right?
Oh.
And Frederick is like, whoa. So he didn't know if it was loaded or not, but he tried to grab the gun away from him, and immediately Howard fired a shot into his abdomen.
Jeez.
And then, like, almost simultaneously, like, regrets it. So he brings Frederick back to his house and tries to help his wife with, like, healing him or, like, making sure that he survives. And Howard leaves and runs to get help from the lighthouse keeper at the time, who was Thomas Orcutt.
Okay.
And by the time he arrives back at the house, Frederick is lying dead, surrounded by his wife and his 3 kids.
That's so sad.
Horrific scene.
What an escalation. Like, that just didn't need to happen.
I know.
At all.
And so then Orchid suggests that Howard needs to turn himself in, and instead of doing that, Howard returns back to the shack, writes a note expressing his remorse, and ends his own life with the same rifle by shooting himself in the head. Yeah.
That's just sad all around.
I know. It really is like a sad story.
Yeah.
You know? But it's widely thought that the spirits of those involved in the murder-suicide never left. And we're not talking about, like, just the two that died.
Yeah, what about the other guy?
He was never mentioned again in the story, so maybe he went back to the mainland or something. I don't know. But there are 3 main locations on the island that are said to be haunted.
Ooh.
There's the dwelling house where Frederick lived.
Okay.
The shack, which is the one that he rented to the 2 guys. And, of course, the lighthouse.
Of course.
So, let's go over some general hauntings.
Let's.
The typical stuff. There's moans from the shack.
Classic.
Like someone in
Gotta
pain.
love it.
Yeah. Shadow figures that dart around corners and disappear.
Spooky.
Some people that are visiting the island claim to encounter a spirit that can only be described as distraught.
Aww.
Some visitors claim that they hear whispers of "I didn't mean to" while they're near the lighthouse. Another spirit is said to be severely injured.
Okay.
Which I'm like, I don't know how they would know that. But apparently it's like super noisy, and it sounds like it's stumbling around and like moaning in pain.
That's so sad. God.
They say that they can hear strange voices carried on like the sea breeze, so they'll think that someone's behind them and talking to them, and they'll turn around, there's no one there.
Spooky.
And they'll hear footsteps running in the shack in the dwelling house. So I have some specific accounts too of hauntings on the island. So Teresa Lowell lived on the island from 1984 to 1986 with her husband, who was the lightkeeper at the time. She claims that one day she opened her bedroom door and was face to face with a full body apparition of a seaman.
Oh, bruh. Would you still want to be living there?
Yeah, it's like a friend.
If you saw a full bodied seaman in your doorway?
Yes.
Okay.
I would just say, this is my house now. I'm the captain now.
I am the captain now.
And then in 1986, that's when they stopped having lighthouse keepers. So her and her husband left the island. But she swears on her life that she believes that the lighthouse is haunted.
Wow, okay. I'll take her word for it.
So now getting into like the meat. Sorry, I've used the lobster meat of this haunting. So in 2005, there was a group from a company, like a, what do you call it? Like a...
An LLC?
No, like a get together of people. Like, what the fuck do you call them?
Conglomerate?
No, like
a squad?
Like, so in 2005, an organization called the New England Ghost Project went to the island.
Creative name.
Yes. Well, it tells you exactly...
Well, I guess ours is East Coast haunts, so it tells exactly what it is.
It is blunt, it is to the point, and people know what they're going to get.
Exactly.
So,
you're right.
New England Ghost Project. So, they have claimed to have found supernatural evidence in 149 out of 150 ghost hunts from 1998 to 2005. So that's 7 years.
The words supernatural and evidence don't go together.
Well, these people, they're very scientifically based.
Okay.
Which I appreciate because
I do too.
I feel like it's easier for me to accept things as scientific evidence when I can listen to like an EVP or like whatever.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so they have tons of electronic ghost equipment. So, and like I said, they rely more on science than psychic ability.
Okay.
So 2005, a team heads out to the island, and we have Ron Kolick, who's the founder of the New England Ghost Project, Maureen Wood, who is a medium, and also like a receptionist. Like, she's like double duty. Leo Monfret, who's a photographer and a newspaper publisher, Karen Mossy, who's an EVP specialist, and Dan Parsons, who's the infrared imager, but they call him Thermal Dan.
Thermal Dan?
Which I don't know why I
like
found that like so funny, but I did.
Thermal Dan.
They set up a control center in the kitchen, and Maureen stepped on the island. She was like, my third eye is just going like batshit.
How convenient.
The energy is, like, so crazy.
My third eye is going batshit.
That's not what she said, but, like, she was like, my third eye is going crazy, whatever. So they claim to have no prior knowledge of the history except for the fact that there was a murder-suicide that happened there.
Well, I feel like that's a pretty big...
They didn't know any of the details about the murder-suicide. So they went up to the top of the lighthouse, and at the top of the beacon... Maureen claimed to feel a, quote, cold, clammy male presence try to move inside her.
Nah, that was just thermal damage. Trying to make a move.
They asked, Ron, who was up there with her, asked her if it was a lighthouse keeper, and she said it wasn't an official keeper, but he acted like one. Okay. So they asked Maureen if the spirit...
She could just tell that from him trying to move inside her.
I don't know.
This group is sus.
I actually do kind of believe them, and I'll tell you why. But at this point, I was like, what do you mean there's a cold, clammy male presence
trying to move inside her? And she said he doesn't feel like an official keeper, but he acts like one.
He acts like one. It's just like... I don't know. I guess mediums have some way of telling this kind of stuff, but for two people that are not, like, have never experienced something this,
and I couldn't even begin to imagine.
It's a little jarring to read something like that, right?
Yes.
So Ron asked Maureen if the spirit inside her had died by his or her own hand, and she replied in a deep voice, yes. And he asked how, and she said, a head injury.
Ooh.
And then they asked if the spirit inside had killed his wife.
Where did they get that
responded
from?
No. Because they just knew that it was a murder-suicide. They didn't know who was involved.
Okay.
Whatever.
It's like 20 questions.
Exactly. So... that was, like, a pretty convincing encounter, I guess, on the top of the lighthouse.
Convincing is one way to put it.
A documented encounter. The control center, at the same time as this interaction, was monitoring temperature, and they did record some abnormal drops in temperature while this was happening.
That's kind of cool.
So, I never knew why people said it got cold when spirits were around, and I found, like, an actual explanation.
Okay, I'm curious because I never knew either.
So apparently when a spirit breaks the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead to communicate with a living person, it takes a lot of energy, so it saps, like, the thermal and the kinetic energy from the surrounding area, which is why sometimes people that have a paranormal encounter explain that it feels like time is moving slowly.
And that it's really cold.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, I never knew that.
So it's kind of like an endothermic reaction because it's, like, sucking all this energy in.
Right.
Which is pretty neat. Then, what's her name? Karen recorded a voice. No, Karen is the EVP specialist. Okay. She recorded a voice on the EVP that says, I think the shot got them.
Oh.
I didn't mean to do it. And a female voice sobbing like they've never heard anyone sob before. Okay. Which I think would probably be the wife.
Yeah, this all fits in very well with the
narrative.
Yeah.
Right. They captured an image of a, quote, glowing mass of light. And there's a series of, like, infrared photos that show this orb becoming a clear human female form.
Oh, wow.
So they keep, like, taking photos, and at first it's just, like, a big bright spot, and then it slowly takes the shape of, like, a human female.
It sounds like the assumedly the wife, right? The wife of the landlord that died is the one who is seen the most.
Yes.
Has the most hauntings around here.
I would think. Yeah, she is very active, apparently. And that was taken in the basement of the dwelling house. So, the same team returned back in 2006, and our favorite girl, Maureen, the medium,
she's back,
used dowsing rods to find the spirit of a woman.
Okay.
And she said that she had been murdered on the island by a man.
Oh.
So using the dowsing rods, Maureen was led to a location off the boardwalk on the island. And she began asking questions, and she determined that 3 girls who were killed separately were buried underneath a shack in this spot, and then the shack was burned down.
Okay.
That freaked Ron out because he had received a phone call from a Missouri man months prior who had a psychic dream about a shack on Wood Island, and in it had watched 4 girls get murdered.
That is so specific. That's
Isn't
like you
that
can't
weird?
even you can't like write that off as
coincidental.
it's a small island, yeah.
It's tiny. And so this Missouri man had called Rob because he Googled Wood Island and he saw the investigation from the prior year.
Oh.
And Ron had not told anyone about this
Okay.
call. So this next part was witnessed by about 10 other people. Some of these people were not involved with the project, so it's not even like they're falsifying their own information.
Right.
So this happened in the attic of the dwelling house. It was silent, it was pitch black, and then all of a sudden, it sounded like rain was pouring down outside, even though it was completely dry outside.
All right.
Maureen began speaking in a Spanish accent and a male voice. She introduced herself as Roger from the year of 1762, and she told the group that she had been on the island for 360 days.
Oh.
And she was pissed because her captain and shipmates abandoned him on the island.
Aww.
So he told the group that he flew under no flag. So they assumed that meant pirate, but Roger became irritated and angry when that word was used.
Okay.
So
swashbuckler, they should have said.
They should have said Captain Jack Sparrow.
Captain Robert.
Captain Roger.
Yeah, Roger, sorry.
Jolly Roger.
Yeah, actually.
So Maureen began to shake.
Okay.
And kind of get a little bit violent with herself.
Oh.
So Ron told the spirit to leave Maureen.
Okay.
And apparently it looked like a scene out of a possession movie. Her head was thrown back, she was shaking. Or her head was whipping back and forth until blue smoke left her mouth and filled the air.
Roger.
I know. Roger was kind of a little spicy bull.
Yeah, he was in a spicy mood.
So that is the last documented haunting on the island. But I'm going to leave this off with a quote from the Wood Island Lighthouse website, which is where I got a lot of my information. I'm
Same
sure
here,
you
I got a lot from there too.
And this says, quote, "The friends of Wood Island Lighthouse can take heart in knowing that while they care for their landmark during the day, there are certainly plenty of souls that watching over it at night."
I actually really like that. That's a cute quote.
I do too.
Because it does seem like a lot of work goes into the preservation of the lighthouse. They've got that whole society, the non-profit society, and they help keep it up and everything, and the Coast Guard, and all these people go and visit it. But then there's also a very rich history, which even though there are some sad parts, it's super interesting.
It is super interesting. I like the dog.
I love the dog.
He's my favorite part.
And honestly, for the fact that it's been around for over 200 years, and there's only 1 or 2 tragedies, I would say that's a pretty good track record.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah. I think that this is a place that I would love to go visit. I love Maine.
Absolutely.
I would love to go.
Yeah, I want to go to Maine now.
Swim on out to this island.
Swim with the deers. We can ride on the deer's back.
Onward, baby.
and then our third eyes will be going batshit.
My third eye's gonna go crazy.
Yeah, that was I like that location. That was cool. We should do another Maine one sometime.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much again for the recommendation.
Yes, thank you. That was a really good one.
And we will talk to you guys very soon. Hope you all have a great holiday season.
Yes.
And this will not be our last episode before Christmas.
But just enjoy the thrills and feelings of the holiday season,
And, even if you don't celebrate Christmas, enjoy the magical holiday season.
Exactly. Hopefully it'll snow soon.
Yes. And then we can get a white Christmas.
That would be nice.
Yes. All right,
just like the ones I used to know.
Yeah. May your days be merry and bright.
And thank you for listening.
Until next time.
Ho, ho, ho. And be of good cheer.
Bye.